We all are safe at home, and it has been 1.5 months since you have stopped or have given a break for the studies. So we are resuming our studies after a long vacation. So we are continuing with the functions that we are talking about. Hope you remember the previous lessons and you have written all the notes also. So please be ready for verification whenever it is needed. So we have learned what a function is, how functions has to be defined, how functions are used, how to write a function, etc. Now we are going to learn what are the variables, the different types of variables we have learned, and those variables, what are the scope of those variables. Actually, scope means in which part of the program a particular piece of code or data is accessible for. So actually the Python is having two types of scopes, that is global scope and local scope. So global scope means a name or a variable that has been declared inside the main function of the program. It is known as a global scope, which means that when you declare a variable in the main function, it is having the global scope. It can be used by any of the functions defined inside that program. Variable defined outside all the functions are global variables. So the functions, the variables that are stored or the variables that are actually written inside the main function, that is outside all the functions, is known as the is having the global scope. Now coming to the local scope is the variables that are written or they are defined inside the functions is having local scope, or they are known as local variables. The formal parameters are, you know what is formal parameters and actual parameters. The formal parameters are also having local scope. We'll see with an example. See, this is an example to find the length and breadth area of the rectangle given length and breadth. So you can see that in the main function you have L and B, which is the length and breadth. So it is defined inside the main function or outside the other functions. So here L and B is having the global scope, and also AR is also having the global scope. And you can see that inside the function area, there we are using a variable small a. A is local to the function. It is having local scope to the function area only, which means that I cannot use that a in the main function or outside the area function. So see this example, the same example, I am trying to use the variable a outside the function area, and I am trying to print it in the main function. See, it will show you an error where it will show that it is not defined. Where if I am printing it inside the function, it will not show any error. It is showing error because I am using it outside the function. So this is another example. This will work. Why? Because AR is a global variable. You can see that AR is defined in the function main function, and I am using that AR function or AR variable inside the function show area. Since AR is having a global scope, it will work perfectly fine. Now this is another example of using a global variable. You can see that global variable count is initialized to 0 first, and it has been used in all the functions. See, whenever a function is using the variable count, it will be actually accessing the global variable. This program is for finding out the total number of operations done. So whenever an operation is being done, that will be accessing the global count. So each and every time a function is calling that count, it will be having, the whole program will be having only one single variable named as count, and whatever functions it is acting upon will be acting upon that single copy only. So count is a global variable here. If you have system at home, just try this at home. Now lifetime of a variable. So actually global variable is having a lifetime of the program. Whenever program is in execution, global variable is having its lifetime. But the local variable is having the lifetime only when that function is working. So actually, as long as the program is executing, global variables are having the life, but local variables lifetime is only there when the function is getting run. Now, how the program will resolve the scope? First, when a variable is there, when the Python program encounters a variable, it looks whether it is a local variable. If it is not that, it checks, that means whether it is inside the function. If it is not there, it checks whether it is in the environment. Environment means we can see that outside the function, but some inside the whether it is a part of the program. Then if it is not there, it is go for the global environment. And even if it is not in the global environment, it's check for the built-in environment. We know that we use some built-in functions and all, so whether it comes under that built-in environment also it checks. If it is not available in this 4 sections only, then it raises an error showing that the name of the variable or that variable is not defined. So for in this section, the exam in the exam point of view, from this section you will find this type of questions. So predict the output, etc. So you have to resolve the global and local scope of the variable and find out the output. So you can see the main function starts from value is equal to 600. You have to print that value. You call a function check, where inside that check function you are actually assigning the value as 100 and you are printing there. And when you come out of that function also, you are actually printing once more the value. So the output should be 600, 100 and 600. Why? Because in the main function, actually the value you are referring to is having the global scope, but when you go inside that function and the function is actually printing the value is equal to 100, when you come out of the function and you print the last print function, it is actually taking the global variable 600. When you go inside the function, actually it is not taking the real global value. There will be 2 copies, actually the global variable value and the local variable value. In order to use the global variable inside the function as such, you have to use the keyword global as in the previous example. See, the same thing has been written sorry in the function. If you are using global, the single copy value will be changed to the corresponding value we are giving, and in the output you can see that 600, 100, which is converted to 100 or changed to 100 inside the function, and outside the function also it remains as 100 itself. And this is another example where you are trying to use a variable value which is not defined anywhere. So what the error will be coming because it is not in the global scope or built-in scope or in the local scope. Another example, see here number 1 and number 2 is defined in the main function, and you can see that it is directly used inside the function check, and the answer is displayed in the monitor. So variable in global but not in local. So that's all for the functions. Remaining some more topic is also there for functions. Okay, thank you.